afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon. I have one announcement to make, following which I'm open for any questions that you may have on that. Other than that, if you have any other issues, I will try and respond to them. The announcement that I have to make relates to the forthcoming visit of the External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, to Singapore. The External Affairs Minister will be traveling to Singapore from the evening of the 15th to the morning of the 17th. The visit is primarily to flag off the year-long celebrations that we are planning in Singapore for the India-Singapore diplomatic anniversary of 50 years of our diplomatic relations. The External Affairs Minister will flag this off with her counterpart, Mr. Shanmugam. In addition, the External Affairs Minister will also meet a cross-section of the Singapore leadership, including their Prime Minister. She will interact with thought leaders and think tanks in Singapore. Also, she will interact with the vibrant Indian community there. During the course of the celebrations, we expect, during the year-long course of the celebrations, we expect that there would be high-level visits exchange between Singapore and India. During 2014, 2015, that's the course of the celebrations. As you are perhaps aware, Singapore is our largest trading partner in ASEAN. It is also the source of the highest FDI to India, which is approximately 5.9 billion last year. It is also the destination of highest Indian investments abroad during the last decade or so. It houses approximately 4,000 to 4,500 Indian companies who have offices there. Apart from a general discussion of the bilateral relations, the External Affairs Minister will be focused on trying to obtain Singapore's cooperation in the projects that we have in mind in terms of infrastructure, which is the Smart Cities project. She will also try and work with them to see if they could participate in the rejuvenation of Indian cities. So smart new cities and rejuvenation of Indian cities is a major project that the Government of India is launching. Already, Singapore firms have won major contracts in the DMIC. These contracts relate to 3 areas. My understanding is in Dahej, they have won the largest water desalination project contract. Also, there are 2 other Singapore firms who have in different places in Haryana won contracts relating to, I think, integrated management of water and also for their planning purposes. Singapore has a very interesting use of water. Approximately 30% of their water is used from storage based on rainwater storage and recycling of wastewater. This is a concept that would be extremely useful for us to see and try and emulate in some of our big urban cities. So that's the focus of the External Affairs Minister's interaction with the Singapore leadership. I think I will stop there. If you have any questions, I am willing to answer those on Singapore or on anything else. The floor is now open. Yes, Manish?
Akbar, the foreign ministers of India and China met in Myanmar last week. I'm just trying to figure out the issues which were discussed and specifically the date for the visit of Chinese President to India.
I think we first will complete the questions on Singapore, and I'm willing then to answer any other questions on anything else. So if there are any questions related to the External Affairs Minister's visit to Singapore, let me first answer this, then I'll come back to you, if that's all right. Yes, sir.
Sir, these celebrations only happen only in Singapore and in India also?
Yes, there will be some events worked out in India also. We are in the process of that. But Singapore plans a year-long thing. Otherwise, in India, they will be event focused, unlike in Singapore, where they are planning a year-long series of festivities. Yes, no problem. On Singapore? Yes, sir.
Sir, Tamil Nadu is ranking as the #1 in rainwater harvesting. Under the circumstances, where is the need for the External Affairs Minister going to Singapore having a consultation? The Prime Minister himself admitted in the Parliament that Tamil Nadu is ranking #1 in water harvesting. Instead of going to Singapore, whether is there any chance the External Affairs having meeting with the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu?
This is not a foreign policy issue, if you would like to. I mean, certainly the External Affairs Minister takes every opportunity to meet important leaders in India. And certainly the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu is a very important leader in India. However, what we are now talking is diplomatic initiatives and extending cooperation from international partners in India. If there are any issues that the DMIC or other projects can emulate from best practices in India, I think there are other departments in India which would be best suited to respond to this suggestion that you have. Well, then Manish, your question now you can repeat it.
The foreign ministers of India and China met in Myanmar last week. Among other things, they surely must have discussed the dates of the forthcoming visit of Chinese president to India. Could you give a sense of which date, if not exact, around what time we are looking at that? And maybe a detailed brief on some issues that were discussed.
Yes, the External Affairs Minister had a fairly detailed and substantive meeting with the Foreign Minister of China. This was her second meeting with the Foreign Minister of China. As you know, Foreign Minister Wang Yi was the first Foreign Minister she received in India after taking over as the External Affairs Minister. Then he had come in the as a special envoy of President Xi Jinping to Delhi. The discussions between them focused, if I'll try and list out the issues. Let me first finish the date, since all of you are very interested in dates, although I do not know what significance X date has against Y date, but since you're interested, I will indicate to you that the visit is likely to be in September. This will be perhaps in the third week of September. Exact dates will only be announced when both China and India are ready to announce those dates. Now, leaving that aside, let's go to the substance of the discussions. The discussions related to ensuring that when President Xi visits India, we should have substantive outcomes. And therefore, they discussed a whole gamut of issues which could serve as outcomes for President Xi's visit to India. You are aware that there are various issues on the table which are perennials in India-China relationship, and we covered all these issues, including matters of trade, matters relating to Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, possibilities of a new route on that, also discussions related to how to narrow the trade gap between India and China, possibilities of investment from China in industrial parks in India, the entire gamut of relations, which all of you are quite familiar with. This was a substantive and very satisfactory meeting, and in our assessment has paved the way for what we look forward to be a interesting and successful visit from President Xi to India. Yes, sir. Anything else on this? Then I'll come to anything. No, on the same issue or something else? Other one, just hold on. Rajiv, on this issue?
Akbar, as you know, India has already had top-level meetings with China and Russia, and bilateral summits with both of them are expected later this month, later this year. would you say that by the time we have bilateral summits with Russia and China, India will be ready for trading with them in ruble and yuan, and what is the status?
Trading with them in?
In ruble and yuan, what is the status?
Let me tell you that these discussions that we had either between Prime Minister and President Putin or between the two external affairs ministers did not cover these aspects. These are extremely technical aspects which will need to be addressed by our specialist. And I think we are still some way off from what you are suggesting in terms of time frame. No, that's it. Ranjit.
Before the Chinese president comes to India, any special representative talks has been scheduled or not?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah. Anybody else? If not on China, then you had something else. You had something else, no?
US Defense Secretary जब पहली बार कोई प्राइम मिनिस्टर पेंटागन में कब गया था सर?
I will have to check both these things. I have no readout on that. And obviously अगर होंगे तो हम तभी announce करेंगे जब जा रहे हैं, advance में तो नहीं कर सकेंगे. We never tell you in advance. That's our track record. We will stick to it. Yes, अच्छा.
सर आज पाकिस्तान का जवाब आया है. कल जो प्रधानमंत्री ने अपना बयान दिया था आतंकवाद को लेकर, उनका कहना है कि हमारे खुद ही 55,000 से ज़्यादा लोग मारे गए हैं, हम खुद ही आतंकवाद से पीड़ित हैं और भारत को सिवाय ब्लेम गेम के ये देखना चाहिए कि कैसे दोनों देश जो है वो बातचीत करके अपने संबंधों को मजबूत कर सकते हैं. इस पर आपका कुछ कहना है?
You know, terrorism for us is a real and present danger. The Prime Minister was articulating what is for us a core concern in our relations with Pakistan. Now, mere denials of selective approaches towards terrorism are not going to drive away our concerns. These concerns stem from the fact that some of the worst terrorist attacks in India owe their genesis to areas which were either under Pakistani control or from Pakistan. For example, the attack on our parliament, which is one of the most sacred institutions in India. Also, the heinous killing of Indians and 16 other nationalities in Mumbai cannot be just wished away. These are matters of present and real concern to us, and Prime Minister was articulating our core concerns in our relationship with Pakistan. Yes.
Follow-up question. As the PM has said कि Pakistan is indulging in proxy war, और साथ ही साथ सर ये इशू जो है पार्लियामेंट में उठाया जा रहा है, पार्लियामेंट में इट इज इन सेशन कि बातचीत नहीं होनी चाहिए, तो क्या ऐसे में जो 25 तारीख को टॉक्स होने वाली है फॉरेन सेक्रेटरीज के बीच में, तो क्या वो रहेगी, वो होगी, या फिर उसको रिथिंकिंग की जा रही है उसको पोस्टपोन करने के लिए?
I never get involved in speculative statements. However, let me tell you that the two foreign secretaries are meeting in the context of directives provided by the Prime Ministers to discuss, to be in touch and look at the way forward in bilateral India-Pakistan relations. This stems from the initiative by our Prime Minister when he invited the Prime Minister of Pakistan to his swearing-in ceremony, inauguration ceremony in Delhi. India will in any case address its concerns on terrorism through all means that are available to us. Our toolkit, please let me complete if you don't mind. Our toolkit is not restricted in any manner. Yes, Smita?
In your last answer, I just raised my hand. Vis-a-vis Iraq, how have the ground dynamics really changed given the US airstrikes? And are you still assured that the Indians in captivity in Mosul are unharmed as of now?
In war situations, there is no certainty about safety. In conflict situations, there is no certainty about safety, in custody especially. That said, given that these are dynamic situations, we keep in touch with those who are in touch with those Indian nationals who are in the conflict zone in custody. Our information is, and that is the last information that we received, not information which is old and outdated, but information that we last received was that the Indian nationals remain in custody. Yes.
So my question is, what is India's stand on Yazidi killing in Iraq?
You know, stances on killings are obvious. There is no question of having any stance except that nobody likes any killings of any sort. So my point is slightly different. In Iraq, what is currently underway is that we need to monitor the multiple directions in which there are evolution in Iraq in the political situation, in the security situation. At this stage, we are in a mode of monitoring it and assessing what its impact will be for us, our interest, as well as Indian nationals there. Once we make that complete assessment, we will certainly share it with you. Yes, sir. Yeah. Ranjana?
So, yes, on this Mosul, the Indians held captive, you said information last received. When was that last received?
My understanding is it was about today's Wednesday. So it was after the problem in Mosul started, the recent issues. So it may be about 4 days, 5 days. I can't offhand give you an exact date to recollect, but that was the most recent after the situation deteriorated there, after the threats to Erbil from the ISIS. This is the situation at that time. Well, I had responded to you of what information I have. This is not a day-to-day thing that we are every day in touch with everybody. There have not been any airstrikes in Mosul. So airstrikes are in locations near Erbil. What I have in terms of what I can share with you, and that is confirmed information, that is information that we can term as corroborated by our sources on the ground, and that is the Indians remain in custody. Yes, sir.
Couple of weeks back from Tamil Nadu, BJP leaders and along with the representatives of fishermen met Sushma Swaraj and the ministry, and they talked about the fishermen issue, and the chief minister also continuously writing a letter to the PM, I mean Prime Minister, and right now Sushma is making the neighboring countries visit, and when would be Sri Lankan visit?
We are engaged with Sri Lanka. I think you would recollect the Sri Lankan foreign minister did visit India some time ago. We had very useful discussions at that stage where it was agreed that we need to look at longer term solutions for the problems relating to fishermen. Also, we are engaged with Sri Lanka to have a meeting of the joint fishermen's committee that was set up, joint committee of officials to discuss the fishermen's issue. We are working on these two aspects, and once we decide on outcomes or the dates for those, we will certainly share them with you. As regards engagement with Sri Lanka, I mentioned to you that the External Affairs Minister did already meet the Foreign Minister of Sri Lanka, who was here perhaps a month ago. So engagement with Sri Lanka is an ongoing basis. We have very active missions on both sides, and we continue to be engaged. And at the first and earliest opportunity, the External Affairs Minister has indicated she will visit all neighbors, and that certainly includes Sri Lanka, which is an important and close neighbor for us. Yes, Parul?
Have the dates for the PM's visit to Japan been decided?
They have not yet been announced.
Okay, can you announce them today?
No? One question over.
Somebody else can.
Yes, Srinjoy?
Doctors in Nigeria be in touch with the and it appears that the hospital they are working in, there are no cases of Ebola, and if they leave, they will either face charges of negligence, or if one of the 30 people still in the hospital they are treating die, they will face criminal charges. Could you tell us, give us more details of what is going on, and whether the Nigerian government is involved in any way, or is it just a Primus Hospital versus 4 doctors case?
Thank you, Srinjoy. Let me tell you first, this is not an issue between India and Nigeria. The hospital is Indian owned, Indian established, and Indian run. The doctors are Indian. As of this time, this is not a issue between a diplomatic issue of any sort between India and Nigeria. That's point number 1. Number 2, you're right. Our understanding is that as of now, there has not been any case of Ebola in Abuja. The nearest known case is in Lagos, which is several hundred kilometers away. Neither our High Commission in Abuja, nor our camp office or consulate camp office in Lagos has issued any advisory for Indians to leave those places. We have a camp office running in Lagos, and we have a full-fledged High Commission in Abuja. That said, of course, it is an individual choice for any individual to leave a job that he or she is working on, and it happens in situations of stress, in situations of crisis, that individuals choose certain actions. These doctors have been in touch with the embassy, High Commission on a regular basis. They also met our High Commissioner a couple of days ago. The issues are as follows. They desire to leave. The hospital is of the view that they have not been asked to address any case of Ebola because the hospital is not designated to handle such cases. What they were handling are cases which include some in the ICUs. The hospital's view is that should they leave these cases unattended, they may have to face consequences of a legal nature from the patients, because the hospital feels that these were the doctors who were handling those cases. On the other hand, the doctors feel that their safety, their health is in jeopardy. This is their personal assessment, and they would like to leave. The High Commission is trying to work with both these parties to find out a way from this situation, which is basically an issue between an Indian-owned, Indian-established, an Indian-run organization in a foreign country and Indians who've gone there as part of their contractual agreements. We hope that we can find an amicable solution between these two different viewpoints, and we are working towards that solution. It obviously requires some time to work these things through. There is also the issue of their passports, and it is true that there is no law which permits a hospital to keep passports of Indian nationals with them. So we have taken it up with the hospital concerned and have asked them to hand over those passports to the Indian doctors, because this is not permissible under Indian law, nor is it permissible under local law. And therefore, these are the dimensions of that issue. We continue to be engaged. We will work with both the hospital and the doctors concerned to see if we can find a solution in a situation where the doctors obviously are personally under stress in a crisis-ridden situation. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, my question is about the Indo-US annual bilateral. The Fed Chairman Janet Yellen visiting India as part of the Indo-US annual bilateral? When is it taking place?
I am totally blindsided by your question. I will try and locate the information and respond to you. Yes. Yes, Suhasini.
Could we ask you to announce the dates for the Japan visit, please?
I'm grateful for that request, but I'm afraid I can't oblige. These dates will be announced on the 15th of August because bilaterally we work out with various countries when to announce a certain visit. And we've agreed bilaterally that we will announce this on 15th. So at least I've told you when we will announce these dates. Some step better than before. So look at the website in the morning of the 15th. You will have the dates available to you. Pardon? I didn't hear you clearly.
Sorry, would it be part of the Independence Day speech?
No, unfortunately, I'm going to disappoint you. This will be a small little statement on our website. Nothing big that requires to be told from the ramparts of the Red Fort. A small little announcement. This is the first time I'm making an announcement about the announcement. But then this is the way we are moving. Since all of you want something to know, I've been able to give you that morsel of information that on the 15th of August, the announcement will be made about the forthcoming visit of the Prime Minister to Japan. And let me tell you, this is based on a bilateral understanding, because the Japanese reporters here can confirm that I understand that there is going to be a meeting of the Japanese cabinet, and they will approve this formally before we make that announcement. So while it's free for all of you to speculate, we can only go in accordance with the wishes of our Japanese hosts, and I'm certain you will have enough time on the 15th to report that. If there are no further questions, then thank you very much for being here this afternoon.